Hey, so you said, experiment a lot, put things on things you wouldn't normally do. So the craziest thing I've done is I put echo on the mids of a kick to make a techno kind of kick.
Yeah.
What's the craziest thing you've done in production that worked?
Wow. That's hard.
Recently, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Cut it down, yeah.
I think the craziest thing that I did was like, I bounced out an entire song and reversed it. And then I've taken like whole sections of that song and used it in a new song. Yeah. I mean, I think that's cool. I definitely like, if you're like kind of dry of melody inspiration, take a song maybe you did in the past and reverse it. And like, I guarantee you will stumble upon a new melody or a new chord progression because you're hearing chords that you already like in a different arrangement. And I think that you can take them in sections and just put them together like kind of like a puzzle. So that was one of the crazier things I did recently. Not that crazy, to be honest, but
Thanks.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Hey, so I'm a pretty new producer. Would love to get your thoughts on layering. I feel like everybody talks about it, but when I put three sounds together, it doesn't sound very wonderful and wide and things. So how do you think about layering when you're thinking about like synths, bass, and maybe pianos?
Yeah, layering is like, I mean, if you can get away with not layering, it's going to be better. You're going to get a louder mix. But if you absolutely have to layer, which I always do, you should probably try and find layers that like have unique elements. So say you like the bass element of this chord, and then you like the mid element of that chord, and then the top element of that chord. Like say you have 3 sets of chords, you can sort of EQ them and keep each section and then put them together so that you're not like overlapping frequencies. I think that a lot of people will just like, when they're starting out, they'll just take chords, throw them into a piano and then a synth, and then they're doing exactly the same thing. But then you're having a lot of clashing frequencies, and it's going to take up most of the mix. So it's just better, like less is way, way, way more. And it's like, just keep it to 2 layers if you can. I know that's not totally consistent with what I've done, but be better than me, you know? It's like, this is just too much layers sometimes. I've made songs, though, that are only a few layers, and those have done really well. I did a remix for, it's kind of a random remix. It was for Nile Rodgers and Jess Glynn and Alex Newell, and it was called Kill the Lights. And it was just this big remix for me that, like, did really well on Spotify, but I know why. It's because I used very few sounds, and it just really resonated with people that were like, it was a big dance song. So a lot of people did like dance routines to it. I think it was on like Dancing with the Stars a few times. I think that's probably what sparked some of the hype around it. But yeah, I mean, just use a few sounds if you can. But if you have to layer, yeah, try to fit that box. Don't use a lot of the same frequencies, for sure.
Thanks.
Cool. What's up, man?
Hey.
Obviously, in progressive house and like most electronic dance music, the low end is imperative to get right. It's got to be bold and strong. But
yeah,
so what are you doing if not in your mastering process? When in the mix are you handling the evening out of the kick and the bass relationship?
Well, I mean, I can probably show you here. Like the kick and the bass. So the kick and the bass aren't as important as the kick and the sub. The kick and the sub really need to sit well together. And, you know, I don't use speakers that much, but I play a lot of clubs. When I finish songs, the one thing I'm listening for is how the kick and the sub are sitting. Ideally, you want to make sure that your kick is short enough so that the sub cannot happen at the same time as the kick. I guess is the layman's way of putting it. It's just sort of like make them fit together, whether that's making sure they're in the same key. It doesn't always have to be that way at all, but like, for instance, I mean, this isn't even sitting perfectly right, to be honest, but the side chain on the sub is big enough so that it makes room for the kick. But on this sub, I think I used 2 side chains. So right here, here's a compressor, and this is just a regular side chain. It goes to a ghost sound, which is like a side chain trigger, and that allows me to have like a better peak or a better duck. If you sidechain it directly to the kick, what I've experienced is that the compressor doesn't come back up in an amount of time that I like. It doesn't really give me a lot of like flex room. If I use this really punchy ghost sound, it's like an extremely punchy short sound that like makes the sidechain just happen quicker, and then I can essentially adjust the release and stuff like that to make sure it fits right. But just get your sidechain working right with your kick. So I have one sidechain here, and it's working really, really hard, so it's really ducking. But there's also this. This is another sidechain. So I use two sidechains. This one is completely ducking it to 0, which this compressor doesn't do, I think, in my opinion. I never hear like a complete to 0 sidechain using a compressor. So this ensures that it's gonna hit 0 right here and leave room for that kick, which is right there, I believe. Yeah, there's the kick. So you can see it like doesn't really hit the kick that much. And it's like, you just like use your best discretion. Like, it's not an exact science, but in my opinion, if you're really trying to sidechain something, do it twice, you know? There's many other plugins you can use just like this one. This is the Vengeance one. But like Nicky Romero kick, I think that's a big one. I think it's a kick. There's another one that's for sidechain. There's like super easy. There's a LFO tool is a good one. Yeah, there's like a million of them. LFO tool I had some problems with, I think. I think it like crashed my Logic one time and I was just like, screw it, never again. So I use this one. And it's not like super high CPU, I think. So this one has amazing functions that I never even use. It's kind of sad. But you can like, yeah, you can sidechain like just the lows and like, it's super cool.
So this is it then. Until the end of your song, you don't touch the low end again. There's no like overall master compression on the low end or anything.
So just showing you the mastering chain. I should have gone over that. I'm going to go over that now. Mastering chain is pretty simple. This is, I don't know why I use this one. I use this one for a lot of my older songs, but the sausage fattener, just a touch. This is actually my final limiter. So I'm serious. Like this is like the most important element of the song because this is what all the sounds go through before it hits you guys. So this is the limiter. And I don't know what Dada Life did, but I know that there's a limiter in here and it sounds good. Like I know that there's other artists that have used this on their mastering chain. Like I've talked to so many other people about it and it's just kind of weird. So that's the limiter on this one. Another favorite limiter of mine is AOM Invisible Limiter. I believe it's a Japanese company, but this one's phenomenal limiter. I use it a lot. I use it on all my recent stuff. It's just good and it's really clean. It's really transparent. So on this, I've been using this a lot. This is Brainworks and it's called BX Control. And all I use this for is turning the mono signal below 144 hertz to mono. So this is like making it mono below 144 hertz. And what that does, it just kind of makes the low end sit a little bit better. It's not really that noticeable, but like for me it is a little. It makes it a little bit more punchy. So it kind of isolates the low end a little bit. And then this is just the high end. This is like a sweetener, I call it. So it's essentially adding, I don't really know what it's doing that much. I just messed with it until it sounded good, which is what you should totally do with most plugins. But I put it to 12,000 hertz. I boosted it to 3, whatever 3 is. And then I put this, I think it's attenuation. I don't even know what attenuation means, but it sounds complex, so I did it. And it sounds good. And I've used it on literally every one of my songs. So I'm pretty sure I learned that trick from a in the studio video with Thomas Gold, who's like another progressive guy from like maybe, I think he's still doing well, but I haven't seen like new songs recently. But I used to love his in the studio video. And like I geeked out so hard because I looked up to him so much. So this was one of his big things that he did that kind of blew my mind. Low cut on the master, 20 hertz. So anything below 20 hertz is getting cut out. You don't really hear these frequencies and they take up a lot of space in your mix. So you can get a louder mix by cutting these frequencies out. And then, let's see. This just, I guess, just turns the pre-volume down 1 dB. before it hits the limiter. So don't drive your sounds so hard into your limiter. You know, there's no need to do that. Like, yes, it's going to be louder, but like I can tell you right now, by the time your song hits Spotify, like it's going to be really quiet on Spotify. Like some of these music services, they normalize your mix in a good way, sounds better, but oftentimes you lose a lot of volume. And a lot of my stuff is quiet on Spotify, and that's because I used to just jam stuff into the limiter because I was like, let's get this as loud as possible, bro. Like, "Argh." So, you know, it's just not the right thing to do. Like, quieter and more dynamic is just better, especially now. So that's the master chain. Nothing really super special there. Yeah, any other questions? He's got the mic.
What's up, man? Thanks for being here.
Of course.
Quick question. I was curious about your voicing on your chords.
Wait, raise your hand. I can't see you.
Oh, right here.
Hey,
My
there
bad,
you go.
man.
So voicing on the chords?
Yeah, I just noticed in the beginning they were pretty open. So I was just wondering if you could go over. And they were pretty simple, too, so.
So these chords, like, wait, no, those are bass. That,
Yeah.
this one, those kind of chords.
Yeah.
So yeah, these, it's just silent. You mean the MIDI?
voicing. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not the different voices, sorry.
Gotcha, yeah. So like, I mean, to be honest, doing exactly what I said don't do. However, I EQ'd it in a way that fits the box a little bit better. So this chord right here is playing these notes, which is just simple chord notes. And then this one is playing the same notes minus the bottom ones, because I guess I must have felt that in this one, the bottom ones were too redundant or just like too layery with these ones. I think it's good to just do something a little different on each of them. Even if you're playing a lot of the same notes, like just change it up a little bit.
Do you find yourself adding like sevenths and ninths usually, or not really?
Now you're getting all music theory on me, and I can tell you right now, I don't, like, this might blow your mind. I don't know what any of these chords are. I don't know any music theory. I just draw them in. Like, it's just, I know that sounds so newbie-ish, but like, I spent my whole career just drawing melodies in. I don't play keyboard that well. I know how to find chords and stuff, and I do that a lot. But like, it's just amazing. You don't really need to know any of this stuff. You can just draw in melodies that feel good. It could be totally wrong, but if it sounds good to you, then it's good, you know? And it's just like, if you have an ear for melodies, you're always going to make good melodies. So when you said sevenths, I might know what you're talking about. In a remix I did called for Pompeii, I did this thing where I took these chords, and it probably won't sound good in this case, but I took the note on silent and I brought it up to +7. And it kind of gives it like a housey feel, or like a deep housey kind of feel. Hard to explain. It's not the best sound in this case, but like in Pompeii, it worked really, really, really well. And so, yeah, I think it's cool to do that. I don't know.
Thank
if
you.
that's a good answer. I don't know if that's a good answer. But yeah.
Hi.
How you doing?
So I noticed that your ear is probably to the ground on a lot of genres. For example, you're talking about UK hardcore. You talk about San Holo.
Mm-hmm.
You were on Anjuna Beats doing trance as well. And I believe in a 2017 interview, you talked about hip hop.
Yeah.
That you really liked it a lot. And I was wondering if there were any techniques that you found within those genres, production-wise or songwriting-wise, that you felt like other people in your progressive house or similar style weren't doing, or were considered taboo or something like that.
Oh, so like are there certain elements that you can't use in certain genres and stuff like that?
Or like if you picked up something from those genres that you felt worked really well in your style.
Yeah, I mean, so one thing that like I really like, just for an example, like hip hop, I really like the hi-hats and how simple they are. And I think that it's cool to take those and use those in, like, say, a progressive setting, like a progressive house setting. Like, one person that really did that well, I don't know if I interpreted this correctly, but Sieb makes amazing remixes. And I felt like in one of those remixes, it might have been the Coldplay one, he took like what sounded like 808 hi-hats that you would kind of traditionally hear maybe in like a hip hop song, and he put it on the drop, and I was like, wait, that's tight. So then I did it. I don't remember which song I did it in, but yeah, it just really works. I think in the song I did Roller Coaster, which is a couple months back, I ended up using like a lot of hip hop elements and progressive elements as well. So like that's maybe what made that song kind of unique, I guess. But I think that if you can take elements from other genres of music and incorporate it into like genres you're more familiar with, like you can make really unique stuff. I'm actually taking like happy hardcore style melodies and trying to incorporate them into progressive house right now. Like that's one thing I'm really trying to do. And it's going to be an album thing, but like it's so cool because those melodies are so like signature. Like you know when it's like a Darren Styles melody. I don't know if you know this guy, but like a Gammer melody and like all those progressive, UK hardcore styles. So it's like if you can bring that into something else like that, that's super cool. Yeah, for sure.
This question is kind of in the realm of production, but kind of not. So do you think that it's necessary for someone, or it could benefit someone a lot going into music schools like Icon or Beat Lab? Because I met a couple of people that say that they really enjoyed it and benefited from it and also got like the networking part of it. But then I met people who dropped out and actually became more successful than the people who have went. So like, what's like your perspective on, because I feel like in this day of age with like Icon having more people come out and be more successful or whatever,
Yeah.
like people feel like it's a need to go. But the price tag also, I don't think it's very a for-profit school, so I don't think it's like, I don't know, what do you think?
Look, I mean, I think that if you're really serious about making music and you're not in a position to be like inspired or taught, or just if you don't have other friends that produce with you and stuff like that, then maybe that's a really good thing to do, because then you're immersing yourself into the process of making music. But I was lucky enough that I had another friend near me that loved making music, and so we got together every weekend, like when school wasn't happening, we'd make songs. And it's like with that process, we both learned how to make music really, really well. And it's like, if I didn't have that, like I probably would have went to an Icon or like something like that. I know that it's super beneficial, and I think a lot of big artists have come from that as well. I don't know any names, but I just remember hearing like, oh yeah, he went to Icon or something like that. And I was like, that's cool. Like, can you imagine going to school, like learning this? Like, that's not even school. That's just fun. Like, you know, like when I went to college for 1 year, and I was just like, I just suck at school. But that I would think I would be really good at, because I'm like, I think I'm good at stuff that I'm interested in. Like I like to think that like when I'm interested, I like to really learn it, and I sort of like a sponge really. But when it's stuff that I'm not interested in, like I just like couldn't be asked. I don't know. I just don't do well in school. So yeah, I mean, if you're considering it, definitely go for it. I think that it's really, really, really good. I think you'll learn a lot more stuff super quick. I wish I had the opportunity to go. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
So as far as production goes, do you have a key that you like to write in?
A key?
Yeah.
It's music theory again.
Music theory?
No key in particular, but like I guess I find myself like making songs that are in the same key. Like some people have told me like, dude, you have like 8 songs that are like kind of all in the same key. And I'm like, I guess I just do. I don't know. It just really depends on like the vocal, you know? Like I don't ever pitch vocals. Like when I get a vocal, whatever key that's in, that's the key of the song. So I guess luck of the draw is like I've had a lot of songs in like C major or something.
So you don't go very much into like transposing your music or anything like that?
Transposing?
Yeah, like when you write in a certain key and you don't like it, do you transpose it up? Or?
Oh no, I do. Like if I write a song like this, for instance, like I'm not gonna end up using this for a song maybe. It's not totally inspiring to me, but like if I got a vocal for this and it was like in a different key, what I would do is I would grab this, I would select all, but there's certain elements I'd have to pitch. But it's just like, I do that a lot. I find vocals that are in a different key, and then I pitch something up that I've already made. So, yeah.
Cool, nice. Sorry, Icon. I go to Icon, so going
Nice.
back to her question, yeah. It's
How
definitely
is Icon? I'm curious.
Definitely worth it.
Is it awesome?
Yes.
I've always wanted to check it out. Like maybe one of these days I can go to the campus and see it.
Maybe you should do a Q&A.
Do they do Q&As?
Yeah, Clicks was just there.
All right, I'm going there from here. You know, just take it all. You know, just that's cool. Yeah, I'll definitely do it one day.
Hi. So I know you usually write songs, like you said, for singer-songwriters.
Yeah.
I definitely went into this as a singer-songwriter too, so I started with the melodies and stuff like that. How do you feel like, how can someone that just kind of only has an ear for melodies and stuff like that be taken seriously into this like EDM world where it's now all about like sound design and sound selection and stuff?
I think honestly, just find a good producer that is focused more on the sound design and come together and make some awesome stuff. You know, like there are certain people that are so good at sound design but don't really do well with melodies, and they don't finish songs. But when you pair them with someone who's like a really good writer, for instance, who can write amazing melodies and vocals, like songs get cranked out. And it's just like find someone that fills maybe like where you're not good, they're good, and vice versa, you know? That's my best advice. You know, I don't write vocals, I don't write lyrics, so I like to get in a room or get and work with songwriters and stuff like that because, you know, then I can actually finish awesome songs, you know? Or I could just make instrumentals forever, but I don't want to do that. You know, it's way more fun to have like cool vocal songs and stuff like that. So.
Hi, thanks for doing this. This has been amazing.
Of course.
One of the things that I struggle with is I usually get like a nice chord progression and maybe some nice melodies going, but I kind of get stuck in the loop. And then when I try to have the melody play throughout the song, it kind of gets repetitive. So do you have any tips for like, you know, adding variation as the song goes on? Because like your music is, you know, kind of on that style. So
Yeah. I would say don't stick to one chord progression. Like in this particular song, I'm pretty sure there's a chord progression here. It's in a different key now, apparently. And then over here, like that's a different chord progression than this one. It's slightly different, you know? It has, like, it hits different chords that this one might not. So I think it's cool to take one chord progression and then expand on it as your song goes on. And it's also a good way to add variation in like the verses, like verse 2, like the bridge and stuff like that. You know, so multiple chord progressions, as many as possible.
thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right, we got time for like 2 more, so.
Hey man, I have a music production question for you. How aware are you, or like how much do you think about what sounds during your drop you have mono versus stereo? Because when I was producing one time, I took one of your songs, I don't remember if it was, I think it was Circles, and I soloed the sides, and I noticed that I couldn't hear the basses at all.
Yeah.
And so then I went in my song and went into the bass bus and made it completely mono, and it completely changed the mix for me.
Yeah, so certain elements in, say, like the drop, for instance, should stay in mono, and then certain elements should stay in stereo, or at least have more stereo signal.
Yeah.
But it's just key to know which should be which.
Right.
Sub bass should always be mono. Kick should always be mono.
What about the basses above that? Like not the sub.
Yeah, for personally, there's 2 ways you could go about that. I do it more mono. I'm actually gonna check because I'm not really sure. Like right here, I can solo the mono signal, and so here's like the bass sounds. So you can hear it's there. If I solo the stereo signal, like that growly one disappears completely.
Got it.
So that one's totally mono. And then this one right here, I guess the purpose of this one is to add a stereo element to the bass because without it, it sounds kind of sterile. And And then so now it adds like a stereo element. But I think generally like all bass sounds should kind of stay near the middle.
Yeah.
Just because I think in the clubs and stuff it hits a lot harder.
Yeah, because I took the whole bus and made it mono, so now it's nice to see that you keep something stereo.
Yeah, I mean there's like you could do it black and white like that, but like if you can add some stereo frequencies into the bass, I think it makes it a little bit wider, and it's like in that lower frequency range. Like it is cool to have some wide stuff. It makes you feel like the song is like if I was visualizing it, like a little heavier, I guess, just like a little bit more like filling the space. It's hard to, I like visualize songs. I don't know, it's really weird.
What about the kick crashes and the claps and stuff you have underneath the kick? Are those mono?
Those, let's see. I think the crashes are actually mono. Those right there are, so you can hear like the reverb on it,
Okay.
but predominantly mono. And then the crashes, yeah, really mono. Yeah, completely mono actually. So, you know, I guess it just like, I needed something in the mono stereo field there in the high range, and I guess those crashes like satisfy that.
Nice, dude.
So I'm learning why I do that as we talk now.
Yeah. Well, that totally changed the game for me when I soloed the sides of one of your songs. So appreciate
Well, amazing.
that.
Yeah, I mean, just fill the stereo field. Like I didn't get too in depth into that, but it's super important. I could find one example. Let's see.
Like the pianos are obviously stereo.
Yeah. So I think probably.
And the chords.
Yeah.
And then leads, you probably have some that are mono and some.
I want to find an example where so this one right here, Ozone 5 Imager. This is a really good way, in my opinion, to get some artificial stereo. Like the traditional way of getting stereo would be to like pan something left and right, offsetting it a little bit, and apparently it creates a wide effect. You can use delays on things and get like a very small delay, and that makes it feel wide. But this is a good like artificial wideness, and I think Isotope is great for that. They have like a stereoized button, and you can literally move these up, and it sort of takes like your sound. I don't know what this sound is. But it adds some wideness to it. And so like, it's probably the wrong way to do it, but I think on my top leads, it should be kind of on the wider side of things. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Sick. Hey, man, thanks for coming out. We really appreciate it. You're awesome. Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you, man.
So one thing that really sticks out to me when I listen to your music is the automations. Like everything just seems to come in and out so smooth and really nice. So if you have any tips you could show us automation-wise, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to automation, there's no like exact science to it. It's just kind of like an as necessary sort of thing. So like I could probably find a good example of automation. So looking at all the automation here, there's just not that much in this particular file. It's because I made it quickly. But, you know, right here, it looks like I probably did volume automation. And that was because I guess right here it needed to be louder, whatever this is. I don't know why that, Oh, yeah, I pitched it, so it's all weird now. But let me find a better automation moment. Let's see. So like this right here, let's see. This is like a high cut, so it's like making it cut off, so if I open it. So like right here, I like it, I guess, lower for the vocal to sit above that. And then in this section in the build-up, it kind of like opens up more. Yeah. Automation is just like, it's kind of just as necessary, you know? You kind of know when you need to automate certain things, and it's really just to keep your track feeling like there's movement and things are changing. You know, you always want your song to feel like things are like changing, I guess. So that's what you'd use automation for. Not super, super important, but ideally you can find sounds that don't need any automation. But because I personally hate automation, it's just super, just when I look at it, my mind just wants to shut down because it's just so, like, why? You know, there's so many things. So yeah, automation.